It was a Tuesday morning in November 1983. A 16-year-old girl left her home in Flint, Michigan, and walked toward her bus stop. She never arrived at school. She never came home. 4 days later, her body was found on a rural road, shot multiple times, left in the cold Michigan dirt like she didn't matter. For 43 years, nobody paid for that. Until 6 weeks ago. Welcome to the Pale Dossier. I'm opening the file on Sheri Jo Elliott. And trust me, this one doesn't end the way you'd expect. November 16th, 1983, Flint, Michigan. Sheri Jo Elliott was 16 years old, a regular teenager, heading to school on a regular morning. She stepped out of her house and walked toward her bus stop. That was the last time anyone who loved her saw her alive. Hours passed. She didn't come home from school. Her family reported her missing. What followed were agonizing days of searching. Neighbors, police, her family, all combing the area, hoping she'd just wandered off, hoping there was some innocent explanation. There wasn't. On November 20th, 1983, 4 days after she disappeared, Sheri Jo's body was found along a rural road in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. She had been sexually assaulted and shot multiple times. Evidence was collected from the crime scene. Investigators worked the case hard, but no suspect was ever identified. No arrest was ever made. The case went cold, and for 43 years, Sheri Jo Elliott's family lived without answers. For decades, the file sat there, pale, worn, waiting. Cold cases don't die. They just wait for technology to catch up with the truth. In 2023, the Michigan State Police made a decision that would change everything. They reopened the case and partnered with an unlikely team, students from the Western Michigan University Cold Case Program. These weren't seasoned detectives. They were college students, but they were meticulous. They digitized decades of investigative material, reorganized files, and conducted deep-dive research on persons of interest using open-source intelligence. Michigan State Police later said the students were, quote, integral to solving this case. Then, in 2025, investigators took a gamble on cutting-edge science. They partnered with Othram Labs, a private DNA sequencing company based in the Woodlands, Texas, and used a process called identity inference. This technology can build a genetic profile of an unknown suspect from crime scene DNA, even when there's no existing DNA sample to compare it to. The DNA evidence recovered from Sheri Jo's body in 1983, preserved for over 40 years, was submitted to Othram's lab. What came back was a name. Ronnie Collins, 75 years old, Grand Blanc, Michigan. In 1983, he would have been 33. He lived free for over 4 decades. He had a life, a home, a community that never knew what he had done. Here's where this case takes a turn that's hard to sit with. When investigators identified Collins as their suspect, they moved to obtain a voluntary DNA sample to confirm the match. But before they could reach him, Ronnie Collins died by suicide in January 2026. He would never stand trial. He would never face Sheri Jo's family in a courtroom. He would never be forced to say her name. But investigators weren't done. DNA was collected during Collins's autopsy. That sample was sent to the lab and compared against the evidence recovered from Sheri Jo in 1983. It was a conclusive match. On April 13, 2026, 43 years after a 16-year-old girl walked to a bus stop and never came home, Michigan State Police officially announced the case was solved. Ronnie Collins was responsible for the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder of Sheri Jo Elliott. Sheri Jo's sister, Sika, told reporters, "You just don't know what a terrible thing it is in your mind when they tell you they found her body." That was 1983. She carried that for 43 years. There's no trial, no sentence, no moment where justice feels clean or satisfying. Collins escaped the courtroom, but he didn't escape the truth. The DNA doesn't lie. The evidence waited, and the people who never gave up, the detectives, the students, the scientists at a lab in Texas, they made sure Sheri Jo Elliott's case would not stay cold forever. Cases like this are why I started this channel, because the files don't close themselves. If this case moved you, subscribe to the Pale Dossier. Every week we open another file. Every week we follow the trail. The next case is already on the table.